Good morning, trading world. It is 8 a.m. November 5th, 2021, and this is my pre-market outlook. I want to kind of give some thoughts or explain what it is that I do. This is something that I do for my trading every morning. I like to put together a game plan so I don't come in uninformed or scrambling to catch up to things as they happen. I like to have a game plan that if I see this particular thing happen in the market, then I know to do this. If I see that particular thing happen in the market, then I know to do that part of the plan. That's pretty much how I trade. I don't like to, or I definitely don't fly by the seat of my pants and, go with certain things. I like to know and understand my risk at every entry. Pretty much all of my entries are predetermined. So I love to trade with a plan. And in having a plan, I like to map out the day with the three most probable scenarios that are likely to happen that day. And then I like to game plan around that scenario. And the biggest part of the scenarios are the three different types of days that we deal with in a trading day. For me, a trend day, a range day, and something that I like to call a trange day, which is a mix between range and trend. We can break it down even further because there are range days that have a bullish bias or bearish bias. However, there are bullish trend days, there are bearish trend days, but that's the gist of how I plan for each trading day. So let's get into what today will bring. And before I get into the SPY, something that we all have to keep our eyes on. There are two stocks right now that are bullying their way throughout all the indexes. They're having a major effect on the S&P 500 and definitely on the NASDAQ. And those two stocks are Tesla and Nvidia. Those two stocks have managed to drag the NASDAQ around all week, or drag it up, because there was at some point earlier this week we had a pretty much uptrend day, and it was all due to Tesla. NASDAQ had an uptrend day, and it was pretty much due to nothing but Tesla. And then Nvidia had its day. So we definitely have to keep those two stocks in mind because they're having a major effect on how things work out in the NASDAQ and in the S&P 500. So with that being said, you kind of want to keep an eye on those because as those two stocks go, pretty much the NASDAQ will definitely follow, and it will have influence on the S&P 500. All right. The first most likely scenario that we're going to have on today's trading day is what I like to call a trange day. All right, here we have the trange day mapped out. This is what we have to look forward to. Wherever we open at, there'll be, usually on a change day, there's not much of a pullback, but we have what's called a gap and go, where we open gap up from yesterday's open and we just sort of take off. We plug along and then all of a sudden just take off like a rocket towards the moon. And the level that we're probably going to take off and head towards is going to be 470, that 470 area. Don't be surprised if we overshoot and spill over into 471, but 470 is the area that we're headed into. And what's going to happen somewhere around midday, we're going to start to kind of chop and just range back and forth for a while until we decide to kind of roll over. And when we roll over, that same powerful move that we had going up towards the 470 area, we're going to have just as a powerful move coming down. And coming down, we should head towards the 465 area, which is going to be a huge move today, if it does happen. And what this tells you, if it happens this way, if we have this strange day type setup, up here is going to be the perfect place to set up for a larger swing move, short for a couple of days. That's pretty much what it'll be telling me, and that's going to be my game plan. So either way, my game plan on the first two scenarios, if I see this where we just decide to take off, a lot of times I'm not fast enough to kind of capture or get into that intraday trade, but I'll be putting calls on, but it'll be only intraday. So I'll be using calls that expire today to jump in and take advantage of this rocket up toward 470. So I'll be looking to get in calls that are close to a 50 delta that expire today. So that's what I'll be using to take advantage on the ride up. And then if we get this jerk and internals do a fade, whether it's your indicator, whatever it is you use, whether you use an RSI, MACD, or you looking at internals, but on this whole ride up, your indicator or the internals that you watch, they should be doing this the entire time. So if you get this on the internals and prices going up, you see that divergence, that's a big clue that we are in a change day, and it's going to be good to set up short positions up here at the 470, 471 area, where it is that where we stop and chop sideways. It's going to be a great place to set up those short trades. I'll be setting it up to where there'll be some that I'll take off today to grab profits for today, but there are going to be a couple that I'm going to leave to take advantage of the next couple of days. So the ones that I'll be taking off today, it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to buy puts that expire today at a 50 delta level, looking to take advantage, and they'll be taken off today. Up here, I'm probably going to do longer, some 7 to 10 days, and probably some put spreads, put spreads that'll be longer in duration, probably all the way through December, depending on what pricing is. It's going to be hard for me to tell you, but it's probably going to be buying the 471 put and selling like a 469 or 468, somewhere in there, to see. But I won't know until the market opens and I can start to look at pricing to see what the risk is and versus what the profit is, or potential profit. So that's the first scenario that I've given a 48% probability of happening today. This is called, or I like to call it, a change day. So that is scenario number one. Let me change this up and I will bring up scenario number two. And here we have scenario number two, which is going to be a trend day up. And what is so crazy, and just to attribute to how crazy this market is that normally you only get maybe 4, maybe 5, we'll say 3 to 5 trend days a month. That's usually how it plays out. You get to take advantage of that once every so often. But in this irrational market, we've gotten trend days back to back, which rarely happens, but it's just a tribute to how irrational and how crazy this market is right now, because we can see days like this back to back. But in a trend day, what we're going to see happen is that wherever we open, we're going to gap up on the open, which means we're going to open above yesterday's close. And on the open, we're going to try to go back or pull back towards yesterday's close. Yesterday's close was 466.91 on the SPY. So somewhere in between the open and just above 466.91, we should find support and turn around, and we're going to start to make this locomotive type chug up towards 470. We're going to go up towards the 470 area, and then usually in a trend day around midday we'll get a kind of chop or slowdown where we just kind of either hover in place or a minor pullback at the midday area, sometime after 11:30, 12, which usually takes us all the way into 1 o'clock, where we may get later in the day an actual pullback to some degree, not major, just a small pullback, just enough to make you think we're going to go or reverse trend. And then usually around 2:30, 3 o'clock, we'll resume the trend of the morning. So that's about the structure of a trend day. That's usually what happens when we are looking and expecting a trend day. And what I usually do on a trend day is that on that pullback, once we see support above that 466.91, that's where I'll jump in and go long with my calls. And it's the same thing on the trade day. This is an intraday trade, so I'm going to be using calls that expire today. looking at a 50 delta, and looking to ride those out up until that midday chop, where I'll be taking the majority off, and sometimes I'll leave one, to play around with into this mess, but most of the time no. But that's how I would be playing today. We get up here into this chop and see things going. The clue about the trend days, something that you'll want to watch, and the reason that I'll know not to put on a swing trade once we get up here to this chop, is that whatever it is that you watch, whether it's your indicator, whether it be RSI, MACD, or the internals, like tick, what they will do pretty much most of the day, they'll mirror the flow here. And if they mirror the flow by going up when we're going up, and stop it out, and sideways and continue up, but anytime we see the confluence of the internals or your indicator going up with price, that's an ideal that we have a trend day going on. There are some more factors, usually on the ADSPD, which is an internal that I watch, that would maintain or get pinned above 300. But lately, in this irrational market, you can't depend on internals or lean on them as much as you used to, because everything is just so irrational right now. So I put a little more credence into price action than I do internals right now, because a lot of this used to be based strictly on internals. So right now the market's irrational, so you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. You can't depend completely on internals right now. So that is scenario number 2, which I give a 37% probability of happening, is this trend day up. And let's get ready for the last scenario. All right, and here we have the last scenario, which is pretty much a range day. Usually 70% of most trading days end up in a range day some type of way, whether it's a range day with a bull bias or range day with a bear bias. It's the most common day that we have in trading. And in a range day, we're going to establish a high and a low for the day, and then pretty much chop between that pretty much all day. And this could happen either way. We could see a pullback toward this 466 area, and then once we get to the 466 area, we're going to find support there. It could overshoot to down into the 465, but somewhere around here we'll find support, and then we'll start to climb, and then we'll shoot back up toward the highs that we had, which that 468 area, and we'll find resistance in the 468 area, and then we'll start to descend down back towards the low of the day, and that's a range day. That's pretty much all the range day is. We establish a high and the low for the day, and we pretty much just hang out between those areas. So that I'm giving a 15% probability, and the reason it's so low, on the range day today is that we have a options expiration day today. So there's going to be heightened activity because of the expiration, which is more likely to push us either much higher or much lower today. And then the other item that to keep an eye out on, the market makers expected move for the week was around 466, 466.32 or something to that effect. And the reason why there's so much probability toward the change day is that there is so much risk around that 466 area. Don't be surprised to see us kind of fall from whatever the heights of the day is, whether it's 470 or 468, and end up back at or inside that market makers expected move of 466. That is a very powerful level when it comes to the week that we're in. So it could act as a magnet. So you want to keep your eyes on that as well. So that is my pre-market analysis for today. I hope this helps you. As always, when entering any position, always know your risk. And have a great day. Wishing you luck on your trading day.